the creed itself derives its structure from that verse at the end of St. Matthew, when Jesus tells his disciples to go into all the world, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit.
So we are confronted here by a strange paradox, something that cannot be entirely explained in logical terms, that we can only really begin to understand through prayer. Sometimes we have to stop using words and just to be silent before the divine mystery.
What we find from the earliest Christian writings we have, namely the letters of Paul, is that even when Paul is trying to say, there is one God, it keeps on coming out in 2 or 3 ways. He talks about the Father and the Lord, or God and the Son and the Spirit. There's one wonderful passage in Galatians chapter 4, which is actually full of Exodus language, so it's going back to the book of Exodus, like so much else in the New Testament, when he says that when the time had fully come, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman born under the law, and then because you are God's sons, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father, so that you are now no longer slaves, but children and heirs of God. And then he immediately says, now that you've come to know God, or rather be known by God, how come you're turning away to pagan-style deities instead? This is Galatians 4, verses 4 through 8, 9, 10. In other words, you've got a choice from the very earliest days of the church. You are either going to go with the God who you've come to know as the one who sends the Son and the one who sends the Spirit of the Son, or you're going back to some form of paganism. And that is the beginning of what we Christians call Trinitarian theology.
But God is experienced as 3 distinct persons, equally and fully God. But he is the Father, and he is the Son whom we see in Jesus Christ. And then after the resurrection and ascension of Jesus Christ, he is the Holy Spirit whom we still know at work in our world today. And the Holy Spirit makes Jesus real and alive to us, the teaching of Jesus, and it is Jesus who is the mediator, the divine agent to connect us sinful human beings to the Father.
That is, of course, mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing in the first century, and it's mind-blowing still. But it's all because of Jesus that they had to differentiate between Father and Son and Spirit. And in a sense, that remains the glorious central task of all Christian worship as well as theology, to explore and elaborate and celebrate the threeness as well as the oneness of God.